Hello and welcome to part 9 in this series where we are building a book application with React and Firebase. In the previous video, part 8, we have built a Dropbox element where we can drop images so they will be uploaded to Firebase. Here, if I drop a couple of images to the Dropbox, the images will be displayed below and the percentage are printed on the console for each image. First image is done and the last two are finished. I get the URL in the console and we stopped here. In this video, we'll continue the process by styling here the preview of the image being uploaded and adding a track bar for each image. Then next we'll create the photo gallery for the book for the image that has been saved in Firestore for this book. So let's get started. First, I'll go to my book photo component where I am displaying the image here once the image has been dropped. Now, what I need to do is create a UI component that handles this section here. I want to create a UI component. We'll name the component image progress that handle a single image display and the progress bar for it. So in my UI folder, where we are storing all of the UI component, I will create a new file. I will name it emg progress.js. It will be a functional component, emg progress. It will receive the image URL and a percent that will work on it shortly. It will return a figure. Inside of it there will be the image element. The source will be the image URL. A restriction in the height of 100 pixel. And we'll export the component. Export default emg progress. Now I will import my component into my books photo. Here I'm already importing some UI element. I will add to them the emg progress, but for it to work I need to add it to the index.js in the UI folder. I will import the emg progress. emg progress. Then I can use my component emg progress here in my book photos. I will replace this image with my new component. I'll give it a prop, the prop emg URL, which will be to the emg. Now let's make sure all is working as expected by. Alright, here it is. Now let's style our image progress. First we'll import styled and we'll create a component that will represent the figure image. Component, we'll name it figure with capital F, which will be equal to style.figure. This component will be a square with fixed width and height. The width will be 100 pixel, the same for the height. Now inside of it there will be the image. So I need the image to cover this element. So the resize of the image needs to be calculated in a way to fill the figure. So there is an object fit rule that will handle this operation. I can give it a value of cover, which will resize the image till it covers the whole parent element. Now I need to use the figure component instead of my figure element here. Then I need to remove the height from the image. So here we can specify the desired width and height. the width will be 100 pixel and the height will be also 100 pixel. So here with object fit and the width 100 and 100 pixel, the image will be resized proportionally without being stretched. As you can see here, if I check an image and remove object fit, as you can see the images will be fit exactly as 100 to 100 pixel, but with object fit cover it will be calculated in a way to fill the parent container without being stretched. So one more thing we'll add for the figure element is display inline block, and we add a margin of 4 pixel. Alright, now let's work on the tracker. First we'll add a div here to represent the tracker. Then we'll add a position relative to our figure. Now for the div, it will be position absolute, bottom 0, left 0, the width also 0, and background color will be green. Now I need to work with the percentage prop, so I need to assign the percentage as the width for the div element. Here I can use the interpolation to add a function that will get the props. Here I need only the percent. I can use the value of this prop to assign it to my style sheet. First I need to get the CSS function which allow me to add additional style sheet for my element. Here CSS, we'll address a child div and we set the width to, also here I can use the string interpolation to add a variable percent. Now for testing purposes, if I send a percent, let's say of 50, here I need to add the percentage. Oh, I forgot to specify the height of this element, which will be, let's say, 6 pixel. Oh, I haven't applied the percentage to this figure component, so I need to add percent will be equal to percent. Now I can get the percent in the component. Now here it is. Let me change the color to light green and the height of the progress bar to 4 pixel. Alright, to make it more visible for the progress bar, I will add here background color black for the figure element, and the image I will reduce its opacity to 0.85. Alright, now next we'll add for each image the correct percentage. So we need to have some changes here in our image state. It will contain not just the URL of the image, but also the percentage for each image. Inside the callback function of the state changed, we are calculating the progress and we are logging the progress in the console. What we need to do is pass this information to our EMG's state. So we need to modify the format of the EMG state to hold an array of objects that contain the image URL and the progress value for each image. Here, once we are setting the image, instead of being just the URL as a string, it will be an object with the URL set to the base64 URL, and the initial percent will be 0. So here, once we are getting the file from the user. We are looping through each file and changing the state of the EMG to contain now an object with URL and the initial percentage to 0. Now here, in the upload task state changed, for the first function that tracks the image progress, we need to change this object set image to update the percentage for each image. Now here, since we are inside the loop, we need a way to identify what image need to be updated here in the snapshot function. To do this, here instead the for of we can use the for let I equal to 0, I is less than files.length I plus plus. So here we'll have an index, and here for the file we'll use the I. Now we can use the index I to reference an image, a specific image inside the array. So here again we'll use the set EMGs in the functions that tracks the progress. So we'll add set EMGs. We'll get the previous EMGs. So here what we'll do is map the EMGs. The map function will return a new array. Now using the map we can generate a new modified array. So here the map, we can grab from the map the current image object and the index. Remember that here the image actually is an object, an image object that contains the URL and the percentage. What we will do here is return a new item where we change the value of the percentage to the new value calculated here. But we need to select the specific image file. So to do this, here using the index, we will name it G. If G is equal to I, the looping index here, then if it's equal to I, we'll change the EMG object. So the EMG object will have the same URL, emg.url, but the percent will be equal to progress. Here we can rename the progress to percent and use the shortcut, since the property has the same name as the variable that is assigned to, so we can use the shortcut here directly percent. If G is not equal to I, so we leave the object as it is, we return it, we return the image. Now we have the values updated correctly for the percentage. What we need to do is apply it to our image progress component. But first here I made a mistake. File should be with S, files. Now in my image progress component I need to do some changes. Here it will be image.url, and for the percentage it will be amg.percent. Now if I save, let's reload and drag a couple of images. As you can see, here is the progress bar working as expected. This one has been finished, which is great. Now the next step will be to, once an image has finished uploading, to remove it. Now to remove the image, once the upload has been finished, I'll go to my complete callback, which is the third function of the upload task on. So the third function, which is the fourth parameter, I need to remove from the array the specific image that has been completed. So I'll do the same way as I did here, but instead of mapping I will filter. Remember here that we are using the index from the loop. Same way we will do it once it is complete. So before saving the image to the Firebase book, we can remove it like this. I will use set EMGs. Now instead of map, I will use filter. Filter take the same signature, a function. I need to return either true or false. If true, then the object will not be in the new array. If false, the object will be available in the new returned array. So here I'm checking if G is equal to the current index I, then I will remove the image, meaning that the current selected image is completed. So let's give it a try in my browser. I will reload and I will drag 3 images. Here I can see my progress bar is working. Alright. So as you can see, now one more thing I need to do to allow the image to have some animation in case it needs animation. So I can use set interval or set timeout, set timeout. I will give it a function that runs the filter, and it will run in 800 milliseconds. This will ensure us some time before it is removed. In this time we can add some animation. Here we'll add a transition to the figure. For now it will be for all 0.2 second and ease in. Here we can set, let's say, the scale. So transform scale will be initially to 1. Then I need to check now if percentage reach to 100%. I need to change the scale to 0. So here what I can do is add another function that will check if the percent is equal to 100. Then I will add a new style sheet for the parent figure, which will be transform scale to 0. So let's give it a try. If I deploy now 3 images, alright, as you can see, and we can also animate the opacity. So it will be 1 at the beginning. Here it will be 0. Now if I drag a couple of images, alright, so this is our animation. Now after finishing working on the upload process, we need to display the image for the book here instead of no photo available. So what I will do is I will go to my UI folder and I will create a gallery component that will take a list of images and display them as a gallery. So we'll create gallery.js. It will be a functional component. It will receive the EMGs and return a div. Inside the div, we'll map through the EMGs prop to display the list of images inside a figure element. So here, EMGs.map EMG, which will return a figure element. Now inside the figure element will display the image. The source will be EMG. Now I will export the component, export default gallery. Now concerning the figure image, I will create a new UI component that handle a single image display. So this will be image.js. in its turn also will be a functional component image. It will take as a prop an EMG and will return the figure element. We'll export this component. Now this, for the image, will set a limit of the height to, let's say, 150 for now. We'll see how it looks. Now in the gallery, I will import this component. Import image from ./image, and here I'll replace the figure with the image. Giving it a prop of EMG, which will be equal to EMG. Now we'll import the gallery component into book photos. First, to be able to import the gallery component alongside its other UI element, I'll need to export it here in the index. So here we'll have a gallery and we'll export as a gallery. So back to my book photos, I will import the gallery. Now I will use the gallery here. First I will check if there's any image. So here we have the book, which contains the array of images. So I will check for book.photos and book.photos.length. This will guarantee that the photo property exists in book, and if it exists, it will check if it has any items, so it's not an empty array. So now, in case it does exist, here I will display the gallery. If not, I will display a no photo available message. So for the gallery, I need to provide to it the images list, which will be in book.photos. Now we can check our browsers and see a large list of photos that will be displayed, because we have uploaded already many images, but as you can see, the style is off, so let's give it some style to display it as a grid. So back to my gallery here, I'll import our library style component, import style from style component, and I'll create a div component which will be equal to styled.div. The div here will replace the native div element. Here it will have some style, like, for example, let's try display flex. Let's give it a max width of 600 pixel. We add flex wrap to wrap, so it will wrap once it's exceeds the 600 pixel limit. Let's make it 800. And we'll wrap the image in a div to give it spacing. Here we'll target the child div and give it a margin of 4 pixel. Now if I check my browser and reload, so this is the how the gallery will look. Now I will add a delete functionality for each image. We'll add an edge over. Once the mouse is over an image, we'll add some kind of icon here where the user can click to delete. First, I will go to Font Awesome and download this library. So here I can download the Font Awesome. And I will copy the library to my application here in the public folder. So if I open my Explorer and go to public, I can paste the font awesome folder. Inside my folder I have the CSS which I can import. For example, for our situation we need the solid, the icon needed, which is the let's search for delete. Here's the bin trash alt or trash, the simple trash. So here I need to import the solid min.css. So if I go to my index.html, I can do this here below the logo. I can create a link CSS and I can point to font awesome, then to CSS, then to solid min.css. Now I can get rid of the dot slash. We need to use the public URL here once we deploy so it can point correctly to our root app. So now I have the font awesome available. I can go in my single image here that is used by the gallery to display a single image. Now I can add to it an element div, a font awesome icon, which will be e.fa.fas-trash. We can make sure we are adding the correct classes by typing on the icon here. So it's fa-trash. Let's correct this. fa-trash. Now here I will import the styled component and I'll create a component figure which will be equal to styled.div. Inside of it I will target this div here. So div will be position absolute and I will add position relative to its parent figure. Then the top will be 0 and left will be 0. Width will be 100%, height also 100%. Then I need to use this component instead of my native figure element. Now if I save and check it in my browser and see that the div fills the image, but here the icon not visible. In my index.html I need to import also the font awesome from CSS. So if I go to and then CSS, there is font awesome.css, which is mandatory for the library to work. And see that I have the delete icon on the top. Now for this delete icon here, I will create a new UI element that is icon button. So here I can create icon button.js. Inside of it I need the icon name. So name. This will return this code here and it will be wrapped with div. I will export default the icon button component. Using the styled component library, I can style the div, create a new component div, which will be equal to style.div. Here it will have a cursor pointer to make it seem like a clickable. Also it will take a loading prop. Now I will import the loading UI component also from /loading. Here I'll make a check if loading, then I'll add the loading component, else I will publish the icon itself. The icon itself will be wrapped in a div. Now the icon name will be used in place of this class here. So I will name it icon class. It's more descriptive. So icon class, and let's import this icon to images and replace this one here. Import icon button from ./icon button, and here I will replace this line with icon button. I will give it the icon class, which will be fa-trash, and the loading will be false. Now, as we see, we have the icon here. We need to specify only the direct child of the figure element, so we can add the larger than sign. So here now it is not affecting the second child div. Alright, now we have the button icon now displayed on the screen. Next, we'll style it. We'll add also color and size props. We can check if there's a color prop and apply it to our eye element for the icon. So we'll grab the color from the props. First, we need to import the CSS function that allow us to add style sheet. If color and CSS. Then we'll target the eye, and for the color value we'll add the color prop. Same for the size. Here we're talking about the font size. And for the div here, we'll give it the size prop and the color prop. So in my image here, I want the icon to be white. I can add a color, white for example. So it is white. Next, I will add some gradient here on the top of this absolute div. So we'll add background image, which will be linear gradient, starting from top RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0, let's say 0.5. For the button, it will end with RGBA transparent 0, 0, 0, 0. So let's have a look in our browser. So there's margin to the div. So in the gallery, we also have a div with a margin that is affecting the other child div. So we need also to specify only the direct child of our div element to have a margin. Alright, and we add for this div here a padding of 6, 8. Alright, so here for the second color we can add a stop on 20%, and we can reduce the transparency of the shadow much better. 20%, let's make it 30%. Alright, and let's increase the padding to 10 pixels. Alright, concerning the div, we need to hide it at the beginning, so opacity will be 0. We'll add a transition to opacity to be 0.2 second, and is in out. Now on the H over of the figure, we'll target then the div, and we'll make the opacity to be 1. Alright, now if I hover, okay, I'll increase the speed of the transition a little bit. For now, the images are not clickable. We haven't worked on this functionality yet, but the icon now is clickable. We need next to add a non-click event to this icon to add the delete image functionality. Now to delete an image, I have to add a non-click for the icon. So here in my image.js component, I have the icon button that I'm using to display the icon. I can add the on click and use a function delete. I'll create here the delete function inside the function, so constant delete, which will be now inside the delete function. Of course, I need the firebase, so I'll import firebase from firebase/app. So I'll name the delete on delete, since it is a JavaScript keyword and not allowed as a variable name, so I'll use on delete. So here, using firebase, I can get the storage dot storage, I mean. Now the storage contain a function called ref from URL, which we'll use since we are storing the reference as a URL, full URL. So ref from URL will help us to reference images inside our Google storage using the full URL. The image actually is the full URL, so I can give it the image. Then I can use dot delete. This way, this is how to delete an image. Now this function needs to be async, because this operation here is asynchronous. We need to await for it. So we'll add await. Of course, we'll wrap it in a try catch. And here we'll console dot error e. Once we have deleted the image, we need to remove the image data from the book photos array. So again, using firebase, we'll access now the firestore dot collection books dot doc. We need now the book ID. We can get it from the book photos. Now we need to pass it from book photos to gallery, and then from gallery to image. So here we have the ID. We go to the gallery. Here is the gallery. Now we'll give it the ID. Then in the gallery we'll get the ID and pass it to the image. In the image now we have the ID. We can use it to get the specific document. Next we'll use the dot update to update some fields in the document. We need to update the photos. Now the photos is an array. We need to remove an item from the array. To do this, there is a specific function that is provided by Firestore for this goal. So using the firebase.firestore, now without calling it as a function, dot field value dot, now we use the array remove to remove an item from the array. Now the array will remove take the full item as specified in the array. Here we'll give it the EMG, so it will compare this item here to the item of the array and remove the one that is the same. So this, of course, we need to await also for this function. Now once the operation has been completed successfully, we need to dispatch an action, and this action needs to remove the image from the photo array of the book. So first we need the dispatch object. We can go to the book photos. We have the dispatch here, so again we need to pass the dispatch to galleries and to image. Here is our gallery, so we'll add dispatch. In the gallery we'll get the dispatch and we'll pass it to image. Now we have dispatch in our image. We can dispatch an action. The type will be remove photo and the content will be the photo. Now remember that we already have created an action called remove photo in our reducer. If we go back to book details, here are our reducer function. We added add photo and remove photo, which add and remove photo from our book state. So if we dispatch remove photo, it will be applied accordingly. Next, we need to add the loading here. See, set the loading. So we'll create a local state using the use state. Here we create a state called, of course, loading, and set loading, which will be by default false. Now we already are supposed to be using the loading here. Oh, we use it here, loading. Once we start with the delete operation, we'll set the loading to true. Now, whether it is successful or we catch an error, we'll set the loading to false at the end for both cases. Now, concerning the error, I will display a toast notifying the user that an error has been occurred. So I'll import the toaster context from /toaster context, and I will use the use context to grab the toaster context value, so I can use constant. From the value I need the add toast, which will be use value returned by use context, providing it the toaster context. Now I can use add toast anywhere I want. Here I will add a toast with the text: an error occurred while trying delete the image. Type error. For the toaster context, we need to extract it, destructure it. All right. So let's give it a shot. Now one more thing. Now here in my gallery, I need to add key for the images. So the key will be the EMG itself. Oh, actually here the key should be for the div, the parent element. Now let's try to delete an element. Okay, it seems that I need to pass the function to icon button. Here I can get it. Let's say on click. Now I can assign the on click to an on click event on the div. Let's try it. Okay, now it's loading and it has been removed, but with a warning here in the console: can't perform a React state update on an unmounted component. So what is happening here in the image? So what is happening here, the set loading is trying to change the state, but the component has been already removed, because the successful case will remove the component, the image. So the set loading will be only when we have an error. This is one thing. The second thing, I will update the loading icon to feature a loading icon, actually class, which will be FAS FA-circle -node and FA-spin. Nothing, just some cheap animation, but better than the text loading. If we try again, delete another image. Okay, I made a mistake here. It should be class name, not class. All right. Let's delete an image. Let's say this one here. All right. Now next we'll need to, once we click on delete, we need to keep the loading persistent, even if we remove the mouse from the photo. Now concerning for the image.js here, it's a part of the UI library, and having these details here concerning the book and Firestore defeats the purpose of having a reusable UI. So these details here need to be provided by the book photos as a function and passed down to gallery and then to the image. So we remove here this code inside the try, and we'll use it here in book photo as a delete photo. So here we'll use constant delete photo, which will be equal to a function, an async function actually, that will use this code. Now this function needs to return a promise, so it will return new promise with resolve and reject. Now, if success, we'll resolve And if in case if there's any error, we'll reject with the error. So we'll pass this function to our gallery, and we remove the dispatch. Actually, we don't need it anymore. These are the ID. We'll send the delete photo, the delete photo function. So now the gallery accepts a function called delete photos. Instead of this dispatch and ID, delete photo, and we'll send it to, in turn, to the image. Now for the image it will be as a delete. Here, instead of having dispatch and ID, we'll have the delete function, which will await for it here, await delete. Now in case of success, we'll do nothing. The image will be automatically removed from the app. Now in case the promise return a reject, we'll get it here in the catch block, and we'll add a toast with the error, and we'll set the loading to false, and we'll log also the error to the console. So here we did a mistake. The delete should be on delete, because delete is a reserved keyword. We cannot use it for naming our function and variables. So on delete. Now using the loading, we need to persist the hover once the delete is working. So once the photo is being deleted, we need to keep the hover active. So we'll add here a function that will check for the loading. If loading, then we'll add new style sheet. That set the div to 1. Now enable for the component figure to have the loading, to be able to read the loading as a prop. We need to send the loading for the figure. Now here for the delete photo, actually the function provided for the promise need to be async, not the parent one. All right, and in our image, the identifier on delete is already been declared, so we need to change the name also to, let's make a delete photo. Delete photo, and here delete photo. The firebase we are not using. In the style here we are using the CSS function, so we need to import it also. All right, this is it. Now the delete function will delete the specific photo, but we need to specify what photo we need to delete. So it need to receive as a parameter the image, and here in the book photo we need to get the image, which in this case is the image URL, so we can rename it to image URL to be more specific. Let's test our new changes and test if the icon here, the loading persists on hover. So if I delete this image and move the mouse, all right, so it is working as expected. If I reload, I should not have the image, which is perfect. So let's try it on another book which has no images. Let's say book 18. So book 18 doesn't have any image. Let's try to upload any two images. It seems it's working fine. All right, perfect. Now we have here some errors. I guess this is from the image here. So the loading is Boolean, and the error say receive false for a non-Boolean attribute loading. All right. So I guess it's probably here. Oh, here it is. So here I can create an if. So this will prevent from returning the loading as a string. So this will solve this error. Now for the next error, each child in a list should have a unique key. This is in the book photo here, where we are listing the images being uploaded. We need to add a key. Now the key will be the image URL, image.url. So now if I reload, receive for still getting this error here. Wait a moment. I'm still getting this error concerning the loading. For some reason, I need to return the CSS. Now the error is gone. So we know it is relating to this value here. All right. So anyway, it seems that it is working now. So let's try to upload another image now, a single image. All right. And let's try to delete an image. Perfect. So our system is working perfectly now. Now, one more thing we need to fix before ending this video is that if you drag and drop images here in the Dropbox, we have verified that it is working perfectly. Now, if you click and select images from your computer, let's select two new images. For example, this one and this one. All right, nothing happens. So to fix this issue here, remember that we have the input type file element hidden behind this box that is a label. So once you click on this box, it will activate the hidden input. So if I go back to my code and go to the UI folder we have created here, the Dropbox that is responsible in displaying the input and the Dropbox. Here if we drag below, we can find the input type file, and it has a function that is passed to the onChange event. This handle files function is responsible for continuing the process once a user select files. So if I go to this function here, as you can see, we are just logging the files to the console, nothing more. This function is very similar to the drop function here, the handle drop, which need to call the onFiles function with the parameter files sent to it. Here, the onFiles function is provided by the parent of this component, the book photos, which is a way to send these files to book photos. Now, if we test by uploading again these two images, we said this one and this one. As you can see, the process is continuing by uploading the images and then displayed in the gallery. So this is it for this video. We reached the end of part 9. And for the next video, part 10, we'll be working on creating sum for each image. Each image we upload now will have a sum for it that will be generated automatically by the server using the Google Cloud functions Now, as you can see, currently we are loading the high resolution image here in the gallery. So we will fix it in part 10 video. Hope to see you there. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day.